Southeast Asia's super app, Grab, is set to list in the US in the fourth quarter. C listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2017. And there are reports Indonesian unicorn TRAVELOKA is eyeing a listing in the US through a blank check company or a SPAC. So why is the US so attractive to Southeast Asia's startups?
That's where the money is, and that's where the valuations are, and the liquidity and the experience to invest. The reality is, as startups look to raise a lot of capital, they do have to go to global markets.
Bloomberg data showed ASEAN companies raised $1.03 billion in 6 IPO deals in US markets in the first 6 months of the year. In the same period, 53 IPOs raised a record $4.9 billion on ASEAN exchanges. This sum is up 54% from the same period a year ago. Among the companies remaining in the region, Indonesian e-commerce firm Bukalapak, which listed this month, and super app and Grab rival GoTo, which will list later this year. The listing pie is set to get bigger as a new generation of startups matures in the region in the coming years.
Now we're starting to see the second generation of entrepreneurs come out and build the next stage of companies. So these more qualified CEOs, they now need help getting from 5 to 5,000. Traditionally, it might have been more mentoring and advising. Now it's much more coaching and helping them grow and become great leaders.
Golden Gate Ventures says these upstarts come from a broad range of industries, including fintech, educational tech, and health tech. One up-and-coming company is Singapore online car marketplace CARRO. CARRO recently hit unicorn status when it went past the $1 billion valuation mark. The company plans to list in the next 18 to 24 months if the market conditions are right then.
We're not in a major rush to IPO, right? Or for that matter, to look at a SPAC potentially. But we have been audited as a company, by the Big Fours over the last 3 years. So that makes us a prime target to do an IPO, because naturally, if you need to IPO, you need to be audited by a Big Four. That's one. It is actually more about internal processes and controls. That has to be in place.
CARRO CEO Aaron Tan told MoneyMind that he's aiming for as high as a $10 billion valuation in an IPO.
It will most likely be a listing in the United States, again, primarily because of the fact that our model, our business, there are successful instances, successful stories, successful cases, such as Kavana, Vroom, and a whole bunch of them in the United States. So for us, pragmatically speaking, if you're trying to go for a proper big size IPO, and again, we are not trying to go for a $1, $2, $3 billion IPO, it's probably too close to valuation where we are right now. We are trying to go for, at least an 8, 9 billion kind of IPO if possible, right? Up to 10. I think that there is potential for us to do this in the near term if we execute properly and if we continuously expand the business properly around the region.
Where regional startups eventually decide to list is a business decision.
They are significant businesses. They've raised capital through VC a number of times, Series A, Series B, and so on. So actually they are quite mature. And so they're taking a mature product offering, which has potential to grow, to be fair, and then listing it in the US. What's most important is making sure, from our perspective, that we're helping them raise capital to do what they need to do to grow, and perhaps they do mature to a different exchange just by sheer size.
Even if they do list overseas, there is also the option of a secondary listing at home.
We have a number of secondary listings on the exchange. It's about liquidity. It's about access to market. It is about giving choice to investors. Just recently, we've had our first dual listing from ASX in Malaysia. That company is Malaysian-based, so it's logical for them to come home to begin to have shares trading on our exchange. So local investors have the ability to tap and support that company, which they know.
CARRO is leaving its options open for a secondary listing.
I always say this, market permitting, it depends, right? So SGX, of course, Hong Kong Stock Exchange, ASX, etc. These are all options on the table. First of all, we need to get this company listed, right? Before we even talk about secondary listing.
In the longer term, could ASEAN stock exchanges come together as one big trading marketplace? This would bring together a big pool of investors from across the region and generate the liquidity and scale that listing aspirants can tap into.
The common platform, if you like, or a common market will start step by step. Perhaps what we will see over a period of time is that the exchanges come together with a common backend. So foreign investors can then link into our equity clearing system, so they can make it becomes more seamless, it becomes easier to trade with us. So we actually begin to have common platforms for equities cash clearing. Then from that then extends up. As you get more convergence of the rules for different markets, bearing in mind the behavior of investors in each market is very different, you start with common backend, common rules, and then you slowly begin to move forward as the markets begin to converge. But it is a very long-term process.